Speech writing. So speeches are good for face-to-face communication, which is the most effective type of communication. Speech writing specialists are good at incorporating other ideas into speeches and at making those speeches sound like they were written by the person giving them. They assist in helping executives with research for speeches. Main considerations when you're writing speeches for someone else: who's the author, who's the speaker, the goal and content of the speech, your ultimate objective. What effect do you want the speech to have on your audience? Keys to success: being short, well organized, and focused on the audience's self-interest. Research the audience. Start with the audience. Know who you're writing to. Questions to consider. Who are you speaking to? When and where? Location, time of day. How long is the speech? What's the purpose of the meeting? What's the purpose of the talk? Are other people speaking? How many people in the audience? Don't accept vague answers when you're setting this up for a client. Research the speaker. Know as much as you can about the speaker and write to the voice of the speaker. Write in a way they would talk. What words or phrases do they use? How do they talk to you? Subordinates, to other groups. What kind of opinions are addressed? So, know your objective. Is it an informational speech, an activating speech, or a celebratory speech? Key messages. People can really only remember 2 to 3 key points. The strategy, the setting the tone of the speech, control over opposite views if you bring it up. You have control over the opposite view if you bring it up first. And a hostile audience, you want to find common ground with them. So start with an outline. Have a beginning, a middle, and end. It can also be set up as problem, complication, resolution. Another way to set it up is inciting incident, raising action, climax, falling action, final outcome. Are you emphasizing the what, or are you emphasizing the why? The what outline. An introduction. Build up to the main point, the what, and announce it. If positive, make it the last point and pause. Thank the audience for coming and provide a brief reason for the what. In the body, expand on the what. Flesh out the main points when it comes and what it means to the audience, or flesh out the who, what, when, where, and why. Conclusion. Reiterate the what again. Put a dramatic and memorable spin on it. The why outline. When the outline is just as important as the what, or when the main point involves bad news. You have an introduction, offer a greeting, can be very short section. Do not mention the main point or the what. Explanation. Discuss the why. Cover the relevant points that explain or justify the main point, even though the main point has not come up yet. Establish the cause-effect relationship. And main points. Now deliver the what. Remarks. What are the consequences? What does it mean to the audience members? And conclusion. Repeat the main points. Be concise. Give specifics. People only remember a small part of what they hear. Vague statements have little chance of being understood, let alone remembered. We need to do something about gun control. Vague. We should ban all handguns and make it an offense to be in possession of one. That's a concrete. Timing. A desirable speech rate is 120 to 160 words per minute. It takes about 2 minutes to read one page double-spaced. 20-minute speech, about 2,500 words or 10 pages double-spaced. Write for the ear. You must grab attention at the beginning. Avoid acronyms. Center for Disease Control instead of CDC. Use active voice. We know that instead of it has come to our attention. Use common contractions like don't or can't. It's a conversational tone. use positive words, use pronunciation cues when necessary, use simple words, and always put the titles in front of people's names. So speech tips, create a title, consider an opening hook, think twice about jokes, create images with words, focus on the audience, consider multimedia, act out the speech, encourage a rehearsal of the person giving the speech, have a backup, and scout the location for the speaker. And for presenting, when you're presenting your own work, like news conferences, or speeches, news releases, multimedia presentations, advocacy statements, interviews. They're staged to advance a specific message, and because it is staged, it needs to be planned and needs a smooth execution. So, press conference. I think this was a good example of like the making key points, being very concrete about what he was talking about. Maybe not watch the whole thing, it's kind of long, but I do think watching the first few minutes, maybe first 5 minutes, and you can see how he hits on some of these things that we talked about, or that I talked about earlier. The basics of giving a speech. Gesture and posture. It helps establish credibility. Gestures should support words. Speakers should stand straight up, lean slightly forward. Eye contact. Helps establish speaker's rapport. It establishes credibility and eye contact with specific people. So why use visual aids? Sign accounts for 83% of what we learn. When a visual is combined with a voice, retention increases by 50%. The time required to present a concept can be reduced up to 40% with visuals. Great examples of this is if you've ever seen a TED Talk, they tend to do really good at this. If you have never watched a TED Talk, there are lots and lots of topics. I highly suggest finding a topic you're interested in and watching a TED Talk. They actually are some of the best presentations you'll find. So tips for presentation slides. Again, KISS, keep it simple, stupid, and short. Limit bullet points and text. Limit animations. Use high quality graphics. Have a visual theme, but avoid PowerPoint templates. Use color well. Be conscious of fonts. And use images and videos. With visual aids, recognize the importance of visual aids to enhance the speaker's effectiveness. PowerPoint is the leading presentation software. 95% of the market's using it. It's linear. You start at the beginning, you work to the end. Uses of PowerPoint. It's relatively attractive slide for information, can be used in a variety of formats. A variety of fonts are available. You can use sound clips, pictures, videos, etc. And infographics can be integrated from other Microsoft products. Alternatives to PowerPoint, Prezi. I mean, it can look cool, but it has this zooming technology. You can create non-linear concept maps with it, but the zooming can be overwhelming for audience members. I am a fan of Google Slides, and that's what I use. They're easy to use. Advanced PowerPoint users might be frustrated with it, though. Slides can be easily designed. There's team collaboration with Google Slides, and it's really easy to embed video and images. So panels. It's a standard feature at most conventions. It's a good vehicle for getting audience involvement and consists of a moderator and several people. The role of the moderator is to solicit audience questions in the beginning and control the panel and policy on timing. They also can politely cut off or redirect rambling answers, and they make sure all panelists have an equal opportunity to express their views. So tips for organizing a panel. We organized a panel with a luncheon, and we had a bunch of guest speakers from industry come talking about how they use behavioral design for their organizations to help nudge people in the right direction. And so we did background research on all potential candidates that before we even like asked them if they wanted to be on our panel, made sure it was a fit for what we were talking about. We interviewed them beforehand to know what knowledge they bring. We also gave them a clear direction as to what questions we would ask them based on those interviews that we did with them. Setting up and organizing a panel so it runs smoothly takes a lot of work. But you want to be able to help them highlight the knowledge they have and have it fit into the panel. And when you let them know like which questions directly that we want them to respond to, it actually created a great atmosphere for everybody knowing when to talk. People weren't talking over each other, and everybody had a chance to highlight what they knew best. So one thing about presentations is no one wants you to fail. And I think that's an important thing to remember pretty much no matter what you're working on. Most of the time, people don't want you to fail. They want you to succeed and are there to help. And when you stand up in front of an audience, as nerve-wracking as it can be, the people in the audience don't want to see you fail. They want to see you succeed.